time to make dreams a reality.
Don't you just love this time of year?
This is why we love March.
March Madness Magic.
What an atmosphere we have here.
Such a fantastic time of year. You guys ready to dance?
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. In all the years, no one knows just how hard you worked. But now it shows in one shining moment. It's all on the line. In one shining moment, they're frozen in time. Don't wanna waste. The time is short, and the road is long. In the blinking of an eye, that moment's gone, and when it's done, win or lose, you always did your best, because inside you knew that in one shining moment you reached deep inside. One shining moment you knew you were alive. Feel the heat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest. It's more than a race.
Purdue is going to the Final Four. The dream remains alive for NC State. The Alabama Crimson Tide will roll into the Final Four.
And the defense of their national championship is alive and well.
And when it's done, win or lose, you always did your best, 'cause inside you knew in one shining moment you reached for the sky. In one shining moment you knew, yeah. In one shining moment you're willing to try. In one shining moment you knew.
The magic of March has led us to this stage. Upstairs, Newton, bullseye.
One shining moment.
It is a UConn coronation. The Huskies make history. Back-to-back national champions.
All right, everybody. Unhappy Friday. Oh, still going here. There we go. We'll shut that down. Unhappy Friday, everybody. Coming to you live once again, back in our humble abode here in Cincinnati, Ohio. This is the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio and part of the Green Legion Radio family. We thank you, as always, for joining us from wherever you may be and whatever service you're using to tune in. So please, pull up a chair, turn up the volume, crack open a cold one if you've got the opportunity. Hopefully you are not still stuck at work at this hour on a Friday. And let's try to have some fun as we put an end to this week's hostage situation and look forward to tomorrow and Sunday for another almighty weekend. Yeah, I had to start with one shining moment. I mean, you know, I came on here to gloat a little bit tonight. We're going to do that. But, folks, I've missed you. It's been 2 weeks, right? Last week, you know, we entertained. I thought for a few about trying to do a show while we were in Washington, D.C., but ultimately what it came down to was I did not want to take away, time from the family, and it was a family trip. So, you know, we've been doing this show. The 2-year anniversary is coming up in 2 weeks. And last week was the first time over that 2-year stretch that we actually did not do the show. We did the show 1 week. I had the flu, legitimately diagnosed with the flu. We did the show. I was terrible. Sounded awful. We did it again when coming back from Arizona when I still had no voice. That was a little embarrassing, but fun nonetheless. and everything in between. You know, we've had some ups, some downs, some lefts, some rights, some BAs and select starts. But here we are, just 2 weeks away from the 2-year anniversary. David Califoot joins the room. Hey, bud. Sucks. I can't say it. Hey, man, you know, Dave, and I know what you're trying to say. Look, dude, just give it time. You know, sooner or later the Yankees are gonna come back down to earth. I don't. Even now, with the great hot start that the team is off to, and don't get me wrong, it's great to get off to a good start because, as the age-old adage is, what you cannot win a pennant in April, but you can lose one. So, you know, to get off to a good start is always important. But I don't see anything from this team that leads me to believe that anything's going to be different than I talked about just a couple of weeks ago with Chris and Lou. I mean, you know, Soto's off to a good start. Judge is not. There's already rumors of him being possibly hurt already. Volpe's off to a great start. That's a welcome surprise. You know, we got some good pop out of Oswaldo Cabrera for the first week. But ultimately, the bullpen, the pitching staff without Garrett Cole still looks very, very, very suspect to me. So I don't. Dave, you know, I think you and I are going to be having a battle back and forth later this year about who sucks less. I think that's the way it's going to go. Keaton Arman says, welcome back. Thank you, brother. Great to see you. Missed you guys. You know, the Washington, D.C. trip was awesome. Those of you that follow me on social media, you saw the pictures and everything. We had a great time. But didn't get to do the show last week, and I did miss you guys quite a bit. Andrew Bagley, good evening, roomies. Phil's down 1-0, bottom of the second. Let's go, Phils. Another kind of bumpy start for your Fightins. I don't know what it's going to take there's so much talent on that Phillies roster to continue to come out of the gates kind of just floundering around. I don't get it. And then especially, you know, the Braves just lost Spencer Strider for the year. And you would think that, you know, that would be something that would get that Phillies team even more invigorated to get off to a hotter start. And it's just not happening. I don't understand. You know, maybe it's time to move Schwarber out of the leadoff spot. But I digress. Dave Conant in the room, my brother. How we doing? Hey, can you talk about the non-city affiliated athletics starting next year? That's right. Not Sacramento, just no city. No, I can't really comment on that. That whole thing is a mess. Are we staying in Oakland? Are we going to Sacramento? Are we going to Vegas? Are they going to play on the moon? You know, maybe they ought to go to Montreal for a couple of years. You know, maybe they'll find a good home there. I don't know. But let's get some business out of the way first. Folks, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, and yes, I said Facebook, while this show tonight is being broadcast on the Green Legion 2.0, we actually do have our original Facebook page back. So it brings me great joy to tell you, if you're tuning in on Facebook or Twitter, please do not forget to like, follow, share, and subscribe to the Green Legion. If those services are where you're more comfortable, we obviously totally get it. But just understand, as anyone in the room will tell you, the YouTube channel is the best way to view, listen, comment, interact on any Green Legion radio show that we stream. So please do us a solid, even if you're more comfortable on Facebook or Twitter. Go ahead and head on over to YouTube. Search the Green Legion. Subscribe. Hit your little bell for notifications, and make sure, no matter what service it is, you are sharing that everywhere. We want to flood the interwebs with the Green Legion and Green Legion Radio. As far as Green Legion upcoming, travel packages, tailgates, etc., we say every week, it's never too early to start talking about that. And I see Lou Mancini is in the room. What's up, my brother? How you doing? Well, starts with baseball. Green Legion and Phil's Fever invade London, June 3rd through June 10th. the only Philly sports experience company that successfully traveled 1,846 people across to London and managed to bring everyone back. It's back in 2018 when the Birds played the Jaguars over there. Trips.greenlegion.com, and I forgot to get my banner up here for that. And here we go. There it is. There's the banner right there at the bottom of your screen. Trips.greenlegion.com for all your details on every trip, everything that I'm reading off right now. June 14th to June 16th, Green Legion invades Baltimore and the Inner Harbor. Again, trips.greenlegion.com. The big one for baseball, and even not being a Phillies fan, if I could pull off going on this trip, I would do it. Green Legion invades Chicago for Phillies at Cubs. This is July 3rd through July 6th. This is 4th of July weekend in Chicago, in Wrigleyville, with the Phils there playing the Cubs. I cannot think of a better time. Well, there are a few things I can think of that would be more fun for a 4th of July weekend than heading up to Chicago, being able to party all around Wrigleyville, and for you guys watching your favorite team take on the Cubbies up there. Again, bottom of your screen, scrolling right there, trips.greenlegion.com, trips.greenlegion.com. Head to the website, get yourself signed up. You guys all know the Eagles will open the 2024 campaign on a Friday night in Brazil, and we have our announcement that it is against the Green Bay Packers. I'm not thrilled that that's the opponent. I really wish it was a kind of out-of-conference thing, but this is the NFL. This is what they chose to do, so here we are. Again, if you're looking to go to Brazil to watch this game, there is no better way to do it than with the Green Legion. Have gone, again, like I read before about going over to London. You have Quimby as your leader, as your tour guide, as, and well-versed in the culture down there in Brazil. That's where these are the people you want to be with, okay? So if you're looking to go on that trip, make sure you do all your research and everything. Get signed up, trips.greenlegion.com. And, of course, your early bird deposits. Running out of time for early bird deposit. Schedule release coming in a couple of weeks. That is for all away trips this season. New Orleans, Tampa Bay, Los Angeles, Baltimore bus trip, here to Cincinnati, at Dallas, and then bus trips for the Ginas and the Commodes. Get signed up. If there's a trip you think you'd like to go on, don't hesitate. Go ahead and put in that early bird deposit. It's $150 a person. And the way it works, for those of you that don't know, if, say, like us, you want to go to New Orleans, right? Like my wife and I do. And you put in your deposit. And then the schedule gets released, and if that game falls on a weekend that you can't do, you can shift your deposit to another trip. Say Los Angeles, which is our backup. That one works out on a weekend that you can shift your deposit to that trip, not lose your place in line, and proceed forward with going on that trip instead. So if there's something you think you want to go on, you are protected. Those things and the deposits overall are transferable and refundable up to a certain date, right? Obviously, they can't just hold it forever. So get signed up. If there's a trip you think you want to go on, get that deposited. Don't hesitate. For my folks here in Ohio, and I know I've talked to you folks when we were out for Michelle's birthday a few weeks ago, we had some questions. For anyone else here in our Midwest Eagles Nest group, for Cincinnati, you do not want to put a deposit down unless you plan to book the entire trip, hotel and everything downtown. Then go right ahead if that's what you choose to do. I assume most of you are just going to be doing the game, game day. You want to wait until later this summer when the game day only options come out, and that's your pep rally the night before. That's the tailgate and ticket and tailgate if you need tickets to the game. Like I told you, all of you Midwest Eagles Nest, I ask for nothing from you folks but to come out and have a good time, right? I do the best I can to try to put things together for us. The NCAA tournament bracket, the baseball game coming up in a week and a half, Phillies here at Reds, the week to week with the games, watching the Birds games up at the back porch, and anything else we choose to do. The only thing I am going to ask for you in return, when the Birds come here, and we are here with the Green Legion, I'm asking you all to do your tailgate with us with the Green Legion. We're able to get a good contact today thanks to a great friend of mine here who was able to, I had to phone a friend to get some help with it, but it sounds like we've got a contact who's finally going to be able to hook us up with a good location. Sounds like it might still be the Holy Grail. So that's all I'm going to ask you Midwest Eagles Nest folks for. Book it, when that information comes out, and I will let you know when the game day stuff becomes available. Book your tailgate with the Green Legion. Keep in mind, this game could end up being played, last week of the year when it's, early January and it's freezing cold here. You want to be sitting outside for 4 hours prior to the game? You're going to be outside during the game. You want to go tailgate for 4 hours outside when it's 10 degrees? Be my guest. I'll be inside at the Holy Grail. Green Legion. Inside. 4 hours. All you can eat. All you can drink. It sells itself, folks. Make no mistake about it. Get yourself signed up. For those of you waiting for game day options, wait until later this summer when those become available to you. And for the folks here in Cincy, once again, I will let you know when that becomes an option. As far as the away trips, I just gave you all the details. Told you how easy it is. How easy we make it for the deposits, for transferring said deposits to other trips, for pulling back the deposit altogether if no dates work for you. So my only question to you is, if you haven't signed up already, what the hell are you waiting for? Get signed up and get out on the road with us. Let's go. All right, let's hop on over to the room here for just a minute. Dave Connick, Keenan Harmon, baseball blows. Sucking is good. Lou Mancini says, Casty is killing us right now. He's my boner of the week, and I could rant for hours. Dave Connick, Tony Clark should be the boner of the week, but it could also be Rashid Rice. I am not going to make light of the Rashid Rice thing, but you're on the right track with Tony Clark. Lou Mancini says, I saw Rant coming and immediately thought Yankees related. I don't have anything to bitch about with the Yankees right now, okay? Like I opened this when Califoot first came in. Don't get me wrong. I fully expect to have plenty to complain about with the Yankees later this season. Right now is not it. We got rained out tonight. We're going to play a split doubleheader tomorrow. That makes Saturday great because I got to take my son to a thing, but then other than that, I can just watch baseball. And it's going to be a good time. Keenan Harmon, I think it's Rice. What an asshole! Like I said, I am not going to make light of the Rashid Rice situation. Now, you want to tell me he's an idiot? You want to tell me he's an asshole? I'm 100% with you. But he just turned himself in, so we're going to let that one go. To me, that one's more of just a stupidity thing. Like it goes beyond stupidity. It's reckless. It's taking other people's lives in their hands. Oh, and there's the shot fired over the bow. Lou Mancini says OJ. Brother, I think the memes all over social media the last couple of days have taken care of that. I mean, it was like a wonderland of OJ memes yesterday, last night, and all day today. So I don't think I need to call that out. No. We're going to get to the boner of the week here in just a minute, and Dave Connick is spot on. So, I know some of you hate baseball, okay? But that's where we're going to look to this week's Boner of the Week award. I wish I could actually, make little trophies about this big and just send them to these jerk-offs, right? Like to their offices or whatever. Hey, you're the Boner of the Week. How funny would that be? But we are going to go to baseball for the Boner of the Week. And I know that some of you don't care about the sport, but I need you to understand that this isn't about the play on the field, okay? You're all of you are invested enough in sports to recognize when someone in a position of power in a sport is being a complete jagoff. Callie Newman, how you doing, darling? She says, go Cubs, go. Callie Newman, everyone's favorite Delta flight attendant. If you're lucky, if you get on a Delta flight and you're lucky enough to have Callie, God bless you. Hope she's doing well. And you know, you guys don't know her, but if I could have picked a perfect job for someone, flight attendant for Callie is about as perfect as it gets. She loves to travel. She's always liked to get out and see new things and now she gets to do it as a job. And I guess that's part of the goal in life, right? Is you do what you love and call it work, right? So she knows it. I say it all the time to her every chance I get. Very, very happy for her finding her career in the sky. Yes. Aw. No, you're the best, darling. We're very happy for you. We all are here. Back to the boner of the week. Whether you're a fan of this sport or not, by now you've heard of the pitch clock, right? This is with runners on base, they were giving 20 seconds. With nobody on base was 15. And what this thing, you've heard complaints. You heard my initial complaints a couple, when this thing first was going into effect. Not so much that it was being put in, but that it was forced to be put in because nobody was policing the batters doing a square dance in between every pitch and the pitcher stepping off the rubber every. If they would have just policed that, pitch clock wouldn't be necessary. Unfortunately, they didn't do that, so now you have to have this clock. Well, the results of this pitch clock, whether anyone out there likes it or not, easily the number one reason for the increased viewership in the sport. Okay. It's really not close. Yeah, and I'm talking about even younger fans. And I know from experience with my oldest, he's even gotten more interested, and it's carried into this season. Right. So even, the get off my lawn pricks like myself have embraced it because, you're not getting less baseball. You're getting it in a more timely manner, right? Which we talked about this. These were the two biggest problems that baseball had. And at the time, I didn't know how the hell they were going to fix it because one contradicted the other. The two biggest problems were not enough offense and the game takes too long. Well, if you want more offense, the game's going to take longer. If you want to shorten the game, usually means less offense. So I wasn't sure how the hell they were going to do it, and this pitch clock has cured that. All right. Now, I don't get me wrong, I don't like all of the new rules. You will never get me to advocate for that goddamn ghost runner on second base. That will never happen. I just think it's Bush League, Little League, nonsense. That they need to do away with that. That just sucks. But this pitch clock, I mean, look, you got some comments right here. Dave Conant is just as staunch and get off my lawn as I am. And he says it's a better game with the clock. Lou Mancini, another old school baseball fan. It's working, bro. Exactly. So you would think attracting younger fans, kind of a, resurgence in overall viewership, you'd think that the owners and players union alike would rejoice, embrace it, right? Be happy about it. Well, so the commissioner's office going into this year shortened that pitch clock by just a couple of seconds. When runners are on base, instead of 20 seconds, it's now 18. Apparently, this was unanimously detested by the players' union. Okay. I don't really care about that anymore because no matter what the league office does, the players' union despises it. All right. This whole thing between the league office and the players' union is very much like a couple of 5-year-olds on a playground that just can't get along. It's absolutely obnoxious to see grown human beings who are getting paid millions and millions. And I understand the owners are, billions in some cases, quabble over every little detail. It's absolutely out of control. And now the Players Union, in my opinion, and I know in Dave Connett's opinion as well, because we talked about this the other day, they've just gone too far. Okay? Tony Clark, the director of Major League Baseball Players Association, has stated that from his camp, they feel that the pitch clock is the reason to blame for the rash of significant injuries to your pitchers. You guys have seen this. Garrett Cole with the Yankees, right? Who I'm still not convinced is actually going to pitch this year. Shohei Ohtani had to have Tommy John surgery again. Spencer Strider with the Braves is on his way to Tommy John surgery. The list goes on. It's bad for the sport. It is. But to think that this pitch clock, which just got instituted last season, is the reason for this rash of pitching injuries is the dumbest pile of weak sauce I think I've ever heard. Right, because Jacob deGrom didn't blow his arm out a bunch of other times prior to pitch clock. Right? Like, he's never had injury problems before. Like, we weren't already seeing an uptick in UCL tears, in, just the entire, like, people's arms ready to fall off. Like, we've not seen this growing problem coming. No, you know what the problem is? And Dave Connett is going to back me up on this 1,000%. The biggest problem is this freaking addiction, and it's a sick addiction, in my opinion, to velocity. And in pitchers' cases, it also includes spin rate. You think about it. If you just take your plain old fastball, right? Now, if you cut it, you got a little bit of arm angle on it too. But if you're just taking your plain old fastball and you're throwing 100 miles an hour, awesome, great. Rear back and fire, dude. Why is there a need to try to throw your curveball 90, your slider 94, your splitter 96? Why do you need to do that? What is the reason for it? Don't you benefit more from a 100-mile-an-hour fastball followed up by an 82-mile-an-hour curveball? Right? That looks like the same motion. Doesn't that benefit the pitcher more? No. That's not the way they look at it nowadays. They want maximum velocity, maximum spin rate. So what does that do? These guys have these guys throwing as hard as they possibly can. And when it's these breaking pitches, it's all this torque on the arm, on the elbow, everywhere. Like Dave, like the fastball velocity thing is why you're seeing more blisters. And that's what David said to me the other day. And he's absolutely accurate. You just have throwers. That's all they're doing. Rearing back and firing. Look, I'm proud of you for trying to throw it through a brick wall. You get these guys that can throw it. Like Aroldis Chapman, when he first came in, was hitting 105 miles an hour. The addiction to velocity is what's killing these guys. There is no reason. Save some of that. I mean, my God, do you have to come out? Do I need to see Jacob deGrom or whoever throw 100 miles an hour in a freaking spring training game? I don't need to see that. Nobody should need to see that. This is about getting out there, getting loose. There you go. Russ Taylor, Steven Strasburg. Overthrowing. They don't pitch anymore. They just throw. Because that's what everyone tells them they're supposed to do. All these advanced metric freaking nerds. And you guys have heard me talk ad nauseum about the, so-called advanced metrics. I cannot stand any of it. And that is what it's getting. For Tony Clark to get up, this man is the director of the Major League Baseball's Player Association. And he gets up in front of a microphone and tells the world that there are more injuries to pitchers because of the pitch clock. Have you lost your mind? Are you that stupid? And who is letting you go up there and say these things? How could you possibly believe that any of us believe that line of bullshit? I mean, honestly, there is no... You guys tell me, are any of you buying that? The pitch clock, keep in mind, the pitch clock just went into effect last year. They're not throwing more pitches. That's not what's happening. You trying to tell me that because they have to throw the same amount of pitches more frequently? Dude, I don't want to hear it. These guys are weak. They're weak. And they have the head of the player association who is backing them up on all their weak sauce. That's it. Nolan Ryan, if he was a younger man, would probably go out and fist fight all of them, one at a time. Ask Robin Ventura. I can't. It drives me absolutely nuts to hear something so stupid from a man that's in such a prominent position in a sport that I adore, in a sport that has always been number one in my heart. And, look, don't get me wrong. I'm no huge fan of Rob Manfred, the commissioner, either, okay? And we can talk about that at another time. You want to go back to the way he treated the whole Houston Astros cheating thing and how none of the players got punished at all. I mean, he's just as much of a jellyfish. But it really feels like the players' union, starting with Tony Clark, sees that this pitch clock has basically saved the sport. Okay, let's be honest here. Baseball was once again dying because the games were taking too long and they could not hold on to an audience. And this pitch clock has saved it. And it feels like the players' union, starting with Tony Clark, is throwing a fit about it because they don't like the owners. They don't like the league office. It's disgusting. You go all the way back to 2020. Okay, it starts there. Now I know it doesn't truly start there, but where baseball almost lost itself again, you go back to the COVID season. Okay, baseball had a golden opportunity to be the only sport being played for a period of time, right? And they couldn't capitalize on it. Why? Because Clark and the players' union couldn't get along with Manfred and the league office. That's why. It's billionaires arguing with millionaires over billions of dollars. It starts there. And now you get to stuff like this. You have a rule that was put in place that has saved your sport. It 100% has saved your sport. It ensures that you are going to continue to get paid. TV money is going to continue to come in. More people are going to watch this game. More people are going to go out to the ballparks. More people are going to buy merchandise. And what is your response to that 1 year after it gets instituted because the league office lowered the amount of time by 2 freaking seconds? What's your response? Oh, we have too many injuries because of this thing. You stupid son of a bitch. These are the types of things that people don't want to hear. Just like 2020, when they couldn't get on the field with a golden opportunity to be the only sport being played. Nobody wanted to hear about the arguing. Get your head out of your ass and enough already. So, for all those reasons, and we can back it up even further if you wanted to, Tony Clark, just an absolute douche yacht of the highest order. And, buddy, here's your sign. You, sir, are our boner of the week for this week. So there. I promised you a rant with that one, and I had to let that out. Dave and I talked about it the other day. And at that point, I wasn't sure which way I was going to go. And over the last couple of days, it started to piss me off even more. And so I decided this is the way I was going to go. All right, over to the room here. Whew. You guys have been going at it. Dave Connie, you can't stay goddamn on here. Don't worry, nobody's listening anyways. Keenan Harmon, Green Legion WrestleMania radio shows last weekend. Let me really see that. Drunken Ric Flair sounds exactly like our Lou Mancini. Oh, jeez. I'm going to leave that one alone. Keenan Harmon again, 1,000-mile-an-hour pitches. Gotta hurt something. Exactly. Dave Conant, spin rate and velocity, only reasons for arm injuries. Pitch count is a joke, and so is pitch clock when talking about arm injuries. Mo Vaughn just talked about this as well. Look, anybody that takes Tony Clark's side, I can pull out the bag of magic beans again for you if you want. Okay? This doesn't require a tinfoil hat, but I can go get some magic beans for you. Right? I sell them for $20 a bag. It's absolutely out of control. Lou Mancini, when I was a kid, there was a 4-man rotation. Pitchers today unhurl shit that was never seen before. Yeah, but they lose their entire arm in the process, dude. You know? Bagley leads to more injuries. Absolutely. Now we got Steven Strasburg, Kerry Wood. Kerry Wood was really a product of overwork. Him and Mark Pryor. They were left hanging out there to dry. Keenan Harmon, Lou, I had a 3-girl. Oh, shit. Dave Conant, Jamie Moyer couldn't break glass with any of his pitches, and he had a pretty nice long career, or so I've been told. Yeah, I think he actually wasn't he the last guy to strike out Babe Ruth? Anyways. Yeah, I can't stand that. I can't stand that line of thought. It drives me absolutely crazy. Like I said, Dave and I talked about it on the phone a few days ago, and it ate at me the rest of the week. And so, like, at night before I'd go to bed, I was, like, reading more shit about it. I'm like, dude, this guy is really out of his mind with all of this nonsense. So, easily the boner of the week. Although, honorable mention to Rashid Rice for all of his infinite wisdom. And I'd also like to throw out an honorable mention. Where is it? In my favorite group text of all time with Chris Sack and Lou Dominguez. Whoever's idea it was for this to be the statue of Allen Iverson, the caption is OJ's Heisman was bigger than it. So I think we can throw in an honorable mention boner of the week. So they put that little statue outside the Sixers' new practice facility, which is fitting when Allen Iverson didn't like the practice, right? You guys remember all that practice? We're talking about practice. All right. Grab Bud Light number 2 here. You guys cracking them open? What do you got going on out there? I missed you guys. Missed you guys last week. You guys follow me on social media. You saw my pictures. One of the coolest things, and I didn't put the video up, one of the coolest things we were able to do while we were in D.C., and I'm going to do this before we get to our next topic. When we went to Arlington, the Arlington Cemetery, we went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, and we got to see the changing of the guard there, which is really just an absolutely amazing experience. If you've not been and seen that, I would definitely recommend. And you guys there in Philly, you got no excuses. 3 hours away. So absolutely really cool experience. We got to go and we did the National Mall at night while we were there, which was definitely a good choice because it's all lit up nice. Now it was cold, but with it all lit up nice at night was a really cool experience. My favorite memorial, probably the World War II memorial. Really, really just outstanding stuff. Honoring our soldiers. Just, and when we did the 9/11 Pentagon Memorial, and our Green Legion favorite, Captain Demps, who defends freedom daily at the Pentagon, met us right outside, right at the kind of right where you walk down to go to the memorial there. and gave us a little insight as to, how it was constructed the way it was and the way they reconstructed that side of the building, why it is the way it is. We did a Nationals game. Got to see Captain Demps again and Summer and the lovely Miss Naya, who is just the cutest little ball of energy I think I have ever seen. She's really something else. You see her. She's been on here a couple of times with Cap. And, of course, we all see the pictures. But getting to meet that little lady in person was absolutely fantastic. So, overall, a really great trip. All right. Russ Taylor says the statue should have been of Allen Iverson at the press conference talking about practice. Dave Conant says that's because OJ's Heisman is bigger than Allen Iverson. Oh, man, you guys are bad. All right, moving on. So, guys, girls, anybody listening, one of the reasons for tonight, I did come on here to gloat a little bit, okay? And we're going to take that opportunity right now. You saw how I opened the show with one shining moment. You see what I'm wearing here? What an incredible ride. Really, this time it was the whole season. 2023, we hit a patch in our season where we were not playing very good basketball, the UConn Huskies. And let me back it up a little bit. You hear me say we a lot with that, and it sounds weird because I do root for Penn State with college football. So I grew up in Connecticut, right in and around the Bridgeport, Connecticut area, Bridgeport, Stratford, Milford. And growing up, UConn did not have a Division 1A football team. So, the teams that they would put together, nobody cared. Most people started rooting for Notre Dame. A lot of Catholic up in the Northeast there, as you guys are aware. Some people Syracuse, based on a lot of that was a lineage from their grandparents or their parents who, they saw Jim Brown, they saw Ernie Davis, they saw Floyd Little, they saw those great Syracuse teams, and so I kind of passed it down. Boston College, but really up in that corridor, college basketball throughout the course of my life has been a much bigger deal. And when you come from Connecticut, from that state, rooting for the UConn Huskies is an institution. And it started with the hiring of Jim Calhoun back in the mid to late 80s. He gets hired, and his first press conference, one of the statements he gave was, if we figure out how to keep the Connecticut talent to stay home, keep the kids who are great here in our state, keep them here, we will contend in just a couple of years. And it wasn't but a couple of years later he managed to keep Chris Smith and get him to come to UConn. And Chris Smith, I don't know if how big of college basketball fans you guys are. Chris Smith was recruited across the country, all your big blue blood schools. Kentucky, North Carolina, Duke, all of that. They all recruited him, and Calhoun got him to stay home. So, and then, he starts to build the program, and it goes from Chris Smith and, Donyell Marshall to Ray Allen to Rip Hamilton. Russ Taylor, exactly, the Big East. Early 80s, ESPN is just this little shack. And they start broadcasting. ESPN would put anything on back then, and they got the rights to the Big East games, and that became a big deal. Because then you started seeing Syracuse versus Georgetown, St. John's versus Providence, Seton Hall and Villanova. And later on, UConn comes in the mix. Christian Laettner breaks our hearts in 1990. And then, we don't get our first championship until 1999. But growing up in that state, watching, as kids, you got the UConn Huskies basketball team started to gain prominence through our childhood. So it was things we shared with our fathers, with our friends, with our uncles, with our cousins. And so it just, it's a way of, it's an institution, okay? Like, if you're from Connecticut, you don't root for the UConn Huskies, there's something wrong with you. It's just the way it is. So I just wanted to back it up for a minute, give it a little history, because you guys know I root for Penn State with football. That is because the UConn Huskies did not have a football team. That was, a Division 1A. So they weren't even a thought. But flash forward now. Title number 6 this year, putting us in a dead even tie with North Carolina for the third most all time. Behind, obviously, number 1, UCLA with their 11 and Kentucky with 8. All right. That's back-to-back championships for the first time since the 2006-2007 Florida Gators. And it's just the 8th time it's ever happened. That's Oklahoma State in 1945 and 1946. Kentucky in 48 and 49. San Francisco in 55 and 56. Cincinnati in 61 and 62, UCLA in 64 and 65, and then 67 through 73, Duke in 91 and 92, and of course, Florida in 06, 07. What is Keenan saying here? Hurley had a good season, but what Staley did after losing all 5 resources should be a chapter. Yeah, I get it. Hurley's season was better. The men's game is still much more competitive. It's deeper. So. And if you have any doubts, just keep listening. I'm going to sit here and boast about the stats here in just a minute because I can't get over myself. So here's the first one. The 6 victories in this year's title run en route to the title, won by a total margin of 140 points. That's the highest ever. The average margin of victory, 23.3 points per game, also a record. The UConn Huskies in this year's tournament, trailed for a total of 6 minutes and 22 seconds for the entire tournament. Dating back to last year's tournament, the Huskies have won all 12 games by at least 13 points. Only one of those games was actually the 13. Everything was more than that. That 13-point victory was over Miami in the Final Four last season. Despite how great the team was last year, and the team was great last year, that run we went on through the tournament last year was amazing. We did lose sharpshooter Jordan Hawkins, the big man Adama Sanogo, and that super athlete kid Andre Jackson, all to the NBA draft. But then you come into this year, and somehow this year's team was even better, and that's because it was deeper. All right? Don't get me wrong. Last year's team was great, and it was deep too. This year's team could beat you with like 7 different guys. Okay? Bringing in Cam Spencer as a transfer, absolutely enormous. Quite possibly one of the smartest basketball players I've ever seen on a college floor. I mean, just watch the games and watch. He's always in the right spot, very rarely making mistakes, and can shoot the lights out. Alex Caravan, sophomore, 6'8" wing. He can knock down threes, and he does all the dirty work. He had to put up more offense as a freshman and took kind of a back seat a little bit on that end this year, but he does all the dirty work. Really looking forward to seeing what he can do as a junior next year because there's no way he's going pro yet. Tristan Newton, obviously a flair for big moments. He's won the Final Four Most Outstanding Player both title seasons. And then you had super freshman Stefan Castle. He's exactly that. Absolutely dynamic on both ends of the floor, and you're likely looking at a freshman who is going to be a lottery pick in the upcoming NBA draft. 6'6", long arms, incredibly athletic, makes good decisions, and seems pretty quiet. He looks like a pretty humble kid. And then finally, there's the Great Wall of Bristol, Donovan Clingan, who was easily the nation's best rim protector this season until he faced, that big freak at Purdue, Zach Edey. And while I wish Donovan Clingan would come back, he is only just through his sophomore season. I wish he would come back for one more. Yeah, he's already today declared for the NBA draft, and he will be a lottery pick along with Castle in this upcoming draft. You also had Diarra coming off the bench who could light it up. Then there's another freshman whose name escapes me at this time. It was like Hurley kept this kid kind of hidden from us until like the Big East championship game against Marquette. And he unleashes him in the second half. Kid knocks down 3 huge three-pointers. And then he played important minutes in the tournament. So do I think a three-peat is coming? No, of course not. We did lose talent last year, but this time around, I mean, you're losing. We lost Sonogo after last year, but we had Klingon coming in. Klingon 7'2". Okay, that's a huge loss. So do I think a three-peat is coming? Obviously not. I do expect to be good. I do expect to make the tournament, maybe win a game or two. But to think we're going to go on a third consecutive title run would be a little arrogant. Although I am here to brag. And again, folks, if this sounds like gloating, you're right. You're absolutely right. When you come from a small state like Connecticut, that's surrounded by big city greatness. New York was only 40 minutes away from where I grew up. Boston and Philadelphia, a little over 2 hours away. And then you have something special like this happen. It's worth the gloat, right? Because small states don't get to brag about a whole hell of a lot. But it goes beyond just these past 2 seasons. My Huskies didn't win their first national title until they beat Duke 77-74 in 1999. I will never forget driving home that night. Ever. Everyone was outside in their front yards. People driving down the road. We were flashing the headlights, beeping horns, waving out of windows. People were out in their front lawns, waving at everybody, waving flags around. It was amazing. The cops didn't give a shit. They were doing it right with us. They did not care. Since that season, 1999, this is our 6th, well, including that 1999 championship, this is our 6th time cutting down the nets in just the last 25 years. Okay? People always talk about the blue bloods of college basketball. Duke, North Carolina, Kentucky. Those are the first 3 that always come to mind, right? I think you can go deeper than that. For a long time, Syracuse, Indiana, UCLA. You're blue bloods. And when the Final Four was being played and UConn finally got up to a lead over Alabama, I got a text message from a guy I work with who is from North Carolina. He's a huge Tar Heels fan. And he said, we should kick Kentucky out of the Blue Bloods club and put UConn in. And I simply responded to him by saying, what makes you think we're not already there? Okay? And now we've got our 6th title in the last 25 years. Back-to-back championships. Dominating fashion in both seasons. That's 12 straight tournament victories, none of them by less than 13 points. This year's tournament, we won by a total margin of 140, 23.3 per game. I just gave you the numbers a few minutes ago. UConn has easily planted the flag right square in the middle of that blue blood pack. There's no question about it. If anyone would like to argue that, fine, fire away. All the stats back me up. Whether you like it or not, for the past quarter of a century, Storrs, Connecticut has been title town USA for college basketball, period. In that same stretch of time, North Carolina's got 3. Duke has 3. I think Kentucky has 2. UConn, 6. 3 different head coaches. It's time to start giving UConn their due as a legit blue blood and as the best college basketball program of the last quarter century. I rest my case. All right. What is this over here about the South Carolina women? Look, dude, undefeated season. Obviously very impressive. Okay? But the women's game is still not as deep as the men's game. It's just not. Not trying to cheapen it. I'm just saying that the men's bracket is deeper than the women's. Okay? There's still a very, like you're starting to see on the men's side, over the last 5-6 years, you've had a couple of number 16 seeds win games. All right. Right now on the women's side, that's how it used to be on the men's side, where they just get annihilated, and that's not even close. I'm not going to bash it. When you go undefeated is undefeated. And I think UConn did it for 3 straight. The UConn women did it for 3 straight years. Keep in mind, this past quarter of a century that I'm talking about, that's just the guys. When you want to factor in the women too, you can totally forget the conversation. UConn is college basketball title town USA. It just is. Over the last quarter century, no place, as far as college basketball is concerned, is more prominent than UConn. Storrs, Connecticut, baby. Tiny little state in the union. Awesome stuff. All right. At this time, we're going to do this. I don't know if any of you are interested, but we are going to pop the link in there in case anybody wants to jump in. For the last 10 minutes or so, we're going to talk top 10 NFL draft. Top 10 picks. All right, now I've got the entire first round draft order here, but I thought to just go over the top 10 to close out the show. Next week, we're going to do a ton on pretty much the whole show is going to be dedicated to the NFL draft because, well, it'll be our last show before said NFL draft. So, anybody want to jump in? Come on, jump in. What do you think? Anybody out there like Caleb Williams, or are you like me and Dave Conant, where you think he's got bust written all over him? I just, for all the experts out there who say that this kid is going to be the next coming of Christ, I don't think I have a single friend that thinks the same way. Dave Conant, a guy I work with, everyone I talk to, they think he's just too soft. Then he comes out with his nails painted and the lip gloss, and it's just a bad look. I don't know. Anyways, no takers? That's all right. So, top of the draft, we all know Chicago Bears. They are going to take Caleb Williams. They've made that abundantly clear. Apparently, there's a rumor going around that the Commodes offered the number 2 pick and their first-round draft picks each of the next 2 seasons to move up to that spot, and the Bears shot it down. So they want Caleb Williams. Now, I've heard some people say, well, maybe they covet someone else. Listen to me very, very carefully. If you don't make that trade, right, you've already traded Justin Fields. So you're taking a quarterback. If you do not take Caleb Williams, let's say they take Drake May, just for an example, and they come out and go 5-12, everyone in that front office is getting fired. Period. Because Drake May is not the pick, right? At some point, this becomes about job protection, too. Keep in mind, this is a business. So the GM, the coach, they have to think about their longevity as well. If you go take Caleb Williams and you go 5-12, you're fine. Everyone's getting new contracts. It's not going to hurt. So the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. Number 1 overall. It's not even a conversation. Behind that, you got the Commodes at 2 and the Pats at 3. Both of these teams are going to take quarterbacks as well. The only question is it going to be Drake May then Jaden Daniels, or Jaden Daniels then Drake May? Or do any of you buy into the school of thought that McCarthy from Michigan has improved his draft stock so much that he might sneak into that top 3? I don't see it. I think you're looking at May and Jaden Daniels at 2 and 3. Flip them around, who knows? Then you come to Arizona at number 4. There's some talk of trade there, but it does look like they're staying with the quarterback that can't reach the Chris picks, and that kid needs a wide receiver. Now, I am going to talk this top 10 as if no trades are going to happen. Before we get to next week, I will dive in and I will do more research, and I'll have hopefully a better kind of thought process. I've been pretty good about the top 10 the last 4 or 5 years, so we'll see. But for now, we're going to treat this as if no trades are going to happen. So we've got Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels off the board, right? Williams first, and then May and Daniels flip them around, whatever you want to do. Arizona comes up. This is where Marvin Harrison Jr. comes off the board. For my money, the best player in the draft. All right, now, I know there's some folks out there that think there's some experts out there saying Malik Neighbors is a better wide receiver. And, when they get to the league is when we'll find out. But coming into it, not only is Marvin Harrison Jr. the best wide receiver in the draft, I do believe he is the best player in the draft. Okay, so I think he goes to Arizona. At number 5, the Los Angeles Chargers, who lost pretty much their entire receiving core and Austin Eckler during this offseason. They need a weapon. Bad. Malik Neighbors could go right here to the Chargers. They could also take freak tight end Brock Bowers here, if they believe that Johnston from TCU can be that number 1 wide receiver. I liked Johnston at TCU. I liked the draft pick, but it hasn't really worked out. He had a couple of big drops during the season last year, and now he doesn't have the benefit of a Keenan Allen in front of him, taking some of the heat off of him. So could this be Malik Neighbors? Could this be Brock Bowers? I think they're looking definitely at an offensive weapon here, the Chargers. Then we get to number 6. The last time this team picked number 6 overall was 2019. And I know that because I was at that draft in Nashville. It was a 40th birthday present to myself and one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. And on that first night, I was with Callie, who was in here a little while ago, our favorite Delta flight attendant. She managed to, and this girl's got the greatest luck in the world when it comes to this stuff. She managed to get us kind of pretty close. See, we're in kind of some stands off to the side, but not far from the front of the stage. And that first night, it started to rain, and the wind was blowing. It was not very warm. And this poor thing, she's wearing these little shorts and got a little top. She had a poncho on, but you could tell she was getting wet. She was getting cold. And I look over at her and I said, "Are you okay? Do you want to go, walk up to a bar or something?" And she said, "Well, I don't want you to miss the Eagles pick." Ever the sweetheart, right? And I'm like, "Hon, we're not picking until 20-something. So that's going to be hours from now." I said, "Tell you what, let me see the Giants pick at number 6. And then we can go and, get warmed up and have a couple of drinks and whatnot." Okay, cool. Sure enough, with the 6th pick in the 2019 NFL Draft, the New York Giants select Daniel Jones, quarterback, Duke. I laughed hysterically, looked right at Callie, and said, "Okay, we can go now." But here they are again at number 6. And they are stuck with Daniel Jones for this year, who, by the way, is costing them $47.1 million against their cap. Meanwhile, the collective group of Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and Dallas Goedert are costing us just over $46 million combined. Yeah, you tell me who's got the better front office. But here's the Giants at number 6. Now, if Malik Neighbors is still sitting there, you could make the argument that the Giants should go get a weapon because they literally have none, especially now with Barkley coming over to Philly. If the Giants were going to be smart, and believe me, I hope they're not, this should be the playmaker if Neighbors is sitting there. An offensive lineman like a Joe Alt, or trade back for more draft capital to try to fix more positions. I do think there's the possibility that this group gets nervous looking at next year's possible quarterback crop in the draft. And they know they're probably still not going to be a good team this year, regardless of who their quarterback is. And I do think there's the possibility that they get talked into taking a quarterback at that number 6 pick, in which case I would laugh, because I don't care who they take. There are no weapons on that team. That offensive line is still not good. And whoever gets behind center there is going to have a rough year. I don't care who it is. We'll see if they're smart or stupid. I'm hoping for the latter, as I'm sure all of you are as well. At number 7, we get the Tennessee Titans. This very much feels like an offensive lineman. All right. It looks like they're going to try to go with Will Levis. There are some rumors they may take a quarterback. Dave Conant was talking about that the other day with me. But I think they need to really truly see what Levis has. If he can, he's got a good arm. In the limited time we did see him, he can sling it around. They've got weapons. They got Calvin Ridley. Treylon Burks is coming back. They don't need to go draft a wide receiver. So, or if Brock Bowers is sitting there, is this where you see him come off the board? That's possible too. At number 8 is the Atlanta Falcons. This feels like a corner, right? Take your pick. One of the 2 kids from Bama, Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. Who's that kid out of Toledo? This feels like a corner pick. Their defense isn't bad. Their offense, they've got weapons, man. Or an offensive lineman. They did just bring in, what is Kirk Cousins now? 35 years old. They just bring Cousins in. Maybe they got to go get a tackle to help out there. But they've got some weapons. They could make some noise in the NFC, especially in that division. The NFC South is still the worst division in football. And now you're going to have Cousins with Kyle Pitts at tight end, Drake London on the outside, and Bijan Robinson in the backfield. That's not bad. So see where they go there. And then we get back to the Bears at number 9. And I think this is where they get Odunze, the wide receiver from Washington. That's where I think this is going. Because at this point, I believe Marvin Harrison Jr. and Malik Neighbors are off the board. Odunze is the consensus 3rd best wide receiver in the draft. Now, in any other year, Neighbors is number 1 and Odunze is the 2nd best. So the Bears come out of the top 10 with 2 picks. One is what they hope will be their future franchise quarterback. The other is, a stud wide receiver to pair with DJ Moore. And they've got Agent Zero in the backfield now. So, and then at number 10, the New York Jets, who did some things to fix their offensive line, but I still think they draft there as well. This is another tackle position going off the board. Someone like Joe Alt, if he's still there. The kid out of Penn State whose last name I cannot pronounce. But I think that's your top 10. I don't know what you guys think. Next week, I want you guys to come prepared to talk draft. And we're going to talk Birds draft next week. We talked, a month ago on this show about the Birds, and we talked about corners, right? Well, now you look at it, and there are 6 of them on our roster already. Slay and Bradbury. And I know Bradbury sour grapes with everyone, and I get it. But keep in mind also that his dead cap hit would be $17.2 million if we just ditched him. That's why he's still on the roster. Slay and Bradbury. They brought Maddox back. Ringo, Ricks, and Job. there's 6 corners on this roster. I don't think you're going to see a corner, Howie pick a corner, number 22 overall, with that many corners already on the payroll. So, look, I would tell you, like we all say all the time, what do we hope for? Best player available at a position of need. That's the biggest thing we want. Please don't go take a wide receiver at number 22. It's a very deep wide receiver draft. At this point, if you're drafting a wide receiver, you're doing it for slot receiver or depth. Okay? And you can wait until later rounds to get that. It does not need to be pick number 22. I would like to see them go in the if you're not going to take a corner, go in the trenches. You're never going to hear me complain about an offensive lineman. But ultimately, don't reach. If it's not there, don't reach for someone. Trade back. Fuck it. You know, it's not going to hurt. Best player available at a position of need. Don't reach. If it's not there, trade back. That's it. In Howie, we trust. Back over to the room one more time before we call it a night here. Russ Taylor, I have something to say. The reason the Packers are going to Brazil is because the Brazilian government won't allow Deshaun Watson into the country. Well, did you hear these rumors now? That apparently this is the stadium that the Brazilian soccer team plays at, and their biggest rival wears green. So while apparently there is a ban against green being worn at the stadium. I forget where the hell I read it. I wish I still had the link. Now, they're not saying that the Packers and the Eagles can't wear it, but fans may have trouble. They're going to have to obviously bend that fucking rule. He just invited the Packers and the Eagles to come to Brazil. Like, look, the NFL prints its own money. If its fans want to wear green, you're going to let them wear green. You're going to have to get over it. David Conant says Herbert's overrated. He loves to torture me with that. Russ Taylor, will Brazil have enough cheese for the cheese heads and cheese steak heads? I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I'd order a cheesesteak in Brazil. I think I'd let that one alone. David Conant says, Cam Newton says he's better than Cousins. Yeah, well, you know what? There was a time when I would have taken Cam Newton over Kirk Cousins based on his athleticism. That time isn't now. Keenan Harmon, Bradbury is probably going to improve with the new defensive coordinator. Thank you. That's the point. That's the other point I've been trying to make to people. Bradbury wasn't going anywhere strictly because of the cap hit. You're not going to eat $17.2 million. Okay? But let's not act like Bradbury was the only guy that struggled last year. The whole team struggled last year. The defense was awful. It had no identity. The middle of the field could not be defended. They did not get enough pressure consistently on the quarterback. Obviously, these things are going to change under Vic Fangio. All right? He actually knows what the hell he's doing. Not Sean Desai or Matt Patricia. Like, come on. To think Bradbury, look, 2022, Slay and Bradbury were the best corner duo in football. In football. You think that they both fell off that bad 1 year later without a lot of it being scheme and coaching? Again, I'll bring the magic beans out. Now, I'm not saying they couldn't have both dropped off some, but that drastic, it's not all them. So I agree with Keenan. We're going to see improvement. And that's about all I got for you this week, folks. I hope you've had a good time. I did miss you guys. I missed you guys very much last week. It's just like my once a week where I get my room, I get my guys, we get in our comfort zone, and we have a good time with it. But I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go probably drink a few more beers, hang out with the fam for a little bit, and then I don't know. We'll see where it goes from there. No more NCAA tournament. Kind of a bummer. I do need to watch a little basketball because You guys all know that my oldest, Grady, is very much involved with it. He loves it. It's what he wants to do with his life after the Army. Tomorrow, I'm taking him to the Army Reserves base. Army recruiter that he meets with every Thursday has that whole group going up to the reserve base about 15 minutes up the road here. They're going to learn how to take apart guns and shit tomorrow. That should be fun for him. And then my 13-year-old Liam has a date on Sunday. Yikes. I'm getting old. And this old man is getting off the interwebs here, folks. Dave Califa, Keenan Harmon, Andrew Bagley, David Conant, Keenan Harmon, Russ Taylor, Lou Mancini, Callie, our favorite Delta employee. Thank you all for being here. Again, I missed you. I missed you last week. And, we'll be back again next Friday. All draft next Friday. Definitely all draft. Unless something else drastic happens. Don't need to talk about Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, this guy was, it's come out now that he stole like $16 million from him. So I still think Shohei was behind some of the bets, but doesn't sound like we're going to get that kind of justice. So baseball can't afford to lose Shohei Ohtani like they did Pete Rose. That's basically the way I'll break it down for you. Anyways, folks, for all of you who have been in the room and all of you who have been watching, listening, and didn't feel like commenting, feel free to come on in. The water's just fine. Until next week, guys, this has been the Unhappy Gilmore Show, powered by Green Legion Radio, part of the Green Legion Radio family. Come on back again next week. Join my cast of characters in the room. They are the best room on the interwebs. Until then, stay safe. Enjoy your weekend. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. Remember that Judge isn't back in until Monday. And as always, go Birds. All right, kids, that's it. We'll talk to you next week. Take care. We love you.